All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I have some positive news for wide receiver Noah Brown. Can't wait to talk about that. I have the Wednesday injury report and injury updates for all of the players, so we're going to talk about who participated in Wednesday's practice, today's practice in full, who was limited, and who didn't participate at all. Also, on the Ravens side of things, they have 3 starters that are hurt that missed practice today. We're going to talk about that. Also, Quinn spoke to the media on Monday. We're going to talk about some of his most notable quotes, which will lead us into the entire team buying in, from the players to the coaching staff to the front office. We're going to talk about all of that and more. But before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. I'm about to start getting these film sessions out for all of my exclusive channel members out there. Welcome to the family. If you are a channel member, if you're not one, go become one, because I'm doing exclusive film sessions just for y'all. And of course, I will be live streaming this upcoming game against the Ravens. And I stayed up all night last night adding more reactions, sounds, effects to the stream on my stream deck, so make sure you pull up for that Ravens live stream just for that alone, man. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's just go all the way back to Monday real quick. Quinn spoke to the media, and he had a lot of interesting things to say. First of all, he said that the defense's tackling has improved over the last 2 weeks, which I can definitely agree with. It's not perfect. We're not there yet, but the steady improvement has me optimistic about the future. He also said that the next step for the defense is creating more turnovers. I completely agree with that, even though I feel like that's more of like a personnel thing. Now, granted, you can see from coaching that they've definitely preached turnovers. Frankie Louvu's forced fumble against the Cardinals and Benjamin St-Juste's forced fumble against I believe it was the Giants, maybe? Yeah, that was the Giants one. Those were like peanut punches, where it's like you could tell the coaching staff is just telling them over and over again, just regurgitating the same message. Just go for that ball, especially if you're already beat. Because remember, the Benjamin St-Juste one was like he didn't set the edge, so he was like, I got to make up for that by causing a turnover, because this long run, it was like a 20-yard run before the forced fumble. This long run was on me. Like, this is my fault. Let me go make up for it by forcing a fumble. Frankie Louvu, I'm not sure if that play against the Cardinals is his fault that led to like a long run as well, but then he came up from behind while everybody else was trying to rally and tackle the guy. Frankie Louvu was like, man, what am I doing? I might as well just go ahead and try to punch this out if I can. And then it worked out. You can tell this is definitely something that the coaches are preaching every day in practice, every week, and these guys are definitely stepping up and listening and also responding. But at the same time, though, we just may not necessarily have the talent to do what they did in Dallas, where they led the NFL in takeaways for the last 3 seasons. Like, you just got to have a dynamic, required to double team edge rusher like a Michael Parsons that can help the entire defensive line get pressure on the quarterback, strip sacks, and things like that. And I have some numbers for y'all when I do my statistic and insane numbers breakdown from what happened in the previous week against the Browns, offense, defense, Cliff Kingsbury, everything. And you'll be surprised where Luke McCaffrey is right now as far as top receivers go. We're going to get to that. That'll probably be either later tonight or tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But my point is, Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler have some pretty impressive pass rush win rate numbers right now, but at the same time, we don't have a Michael Parsons, we don't have a Khalil Mack in his prime, we don't have a Von Miller in his prime, and so that could also lead to us getting some more turnovers, forcing some more turnovers. Also, we need more playmakers in the secondary. That may be a talent issue. That may be more so like a chemistry, more better communication. Everybody's more confident and knows what the coaching staff is asking of them, and the coaching staff knows the players better to know what to ask them to do and things like that. So that one may be just more time, even though I feel like maybe you can increase the talent there, like trading for a guy like JC Horn could lead to more turnovers. But I think, especially defensive line wise, I just don't think we have the guy. Like, we literally just don't have the talent of somebody that can start to force more turnovers. I think they're going to keep getting better and better. I think Dorrance Armstrong and these guys are going to keep getting more sacks. They're going to get more pressure on the quarterback as we go along with the season. But I don't necessarily see like a strip sack maestro on this defensive line is my point. So yeah, Dan Quinn, of course, like during this season, and even if you don't trade for somebody, this defense is going to naturally get better and better every week. But as far as creating more turnovers, I'm not sure about that. My point is, you may have to wait until after next offseason to start to get to the point that you want to, because I mean, just within one offseason, you've already done a great job of turning this defense around within just 5 weeks of the season. But we can't expect you to be able to just force unlimited turnovers like you were doing for the Dallas Cowboys. That took time, that took drafts and free agency cycles to be able to bring in the guys that were able to do that. So we'll see what happens moving forward. I'm really excited about that. Dan Quinn also said that Brian Robinson came out well after the game. That's really important because Brian Robinson did have 2 rushing touchdowns, but I believe he only had like 7 carries for like 18 yards or something like that because he was hurt going into that game. We didn't even know leading up to that game if he was even going to play in it. And the fact that he walked away with 2 touchdowns, even though he could barely even move, he was so hurt. The runs that he did have, you could just see that wasn't the same guy. And if you watched him on the sideline, he was in a lot of pain. And so the fact that he walked away from that game productive and healthy is big news. Thank you, Dan Quinn, for putting our minds at ease there on Monday. He said Robinson entered the week with a knee issue and didn't have a carry even after halftime. I don't know if people noticed that after halftime, he had his 2 touchdowns. They were like, you're good to go. We got this game in the bag. We don't need you. We're only using you when we absolutely need you in goal line situations. And then even beyond that, we're trying to get you out of this game as soon as possible. Dan Quinn said the lack of work was more of like a coaching decision, especially with so many games to go. And he also said that they're keeping tabs on Quan Martin with a shoulder and concussion injury, even though in the injury report that I'm going to update y'all on eventually in this video, it's a completely different injury. They're saying a neck injury now, so I don't know what's going on there. Now, that's going to take me to the mentality of the coaches, the players, and the front office. Because Dan Quinn also said that his favorite play from Sunday against the Browns, and you know, some people may point to the Jaden Daniels outside of the pocket deep bomb to Terry McLaurin in the first down, or Jaden Daniels running. There's a whole lot of plays that you could point out. But his favorite play was also the play that Jay Gruden said was his favorite play when he was doing a film breakdown. It was the Austin Eckler long run, I think through the right side of the B gap over there. And then the hustle from Olamide Zaccheaus and Terry McLaurin to get down that field to help block for Austin Eckler. And also Olamide Zaccheaus, you know, Austin Eckler fumbled at the end of that play. I don't know if a lot of fans noticed that, and Olamide was able to, you know, get on top of it because of the hustle that he had. He was so far away from the play, he could have had any excuse in the world to not hustle down that play and run full speed to get involved. And because he had that extra hustle, you could honestly say unnecessarily, because 9 times out of 10, you don't really expect your running back to fumble there. But that's just the mentality of this team, to always give it 100%, because you never know what can happen. And that led to us recovering that fumble rather than giving the Browns the ball right back. And we ended up scoring a touchdown, I believe, soon after that as well. Dan Quinn even said, quote, "It demonstrated how hard you have to go," unquote, when talking about Zaccheaus' hustle that led to the fumble recovery. Doing work even when you don't expect a reward, and then Olamide Zaccheaus just so happened in those rare moments to be rewarded in that, and that's big time. That's the difference between Jahan Dotson, why we traded him away, and why we kept Olamide Zaccheaus. Because the reason, you know, everybody was saying on the surface was the fact that Jahan Dotson's small, he doesn't block well and things like that. Olamide is the same size, he just hustles more, he cares more, he blocks better, and that's not because of talent, that's purely because of want to. So that's why Olamide Zaccheaus has mattered so much in this offense right now. Dan Quinn even went on to highlight the efforts and energy of McCaffrey and Olamide on downfield blocks on Sunday as well. Remember that Brian Robinson's first touchdown, that doesn't happen with without Luke McCaffrey blocking the DB all the way up until today. Probably still blocking him right now. You know, that was an insane block. He blocked them for like a whole 5 seconds or more. Probably could have taken them all the way to the locker room, really to the airport if he wanted to. And then also, there's this play highlighted by the last of the fullbacks. They are a Twitter account that like purposely, like their whole thing is to highlight great offensive line and running back play, basically saying like, you know, the run game is sort of like a dying thing right now in the NFL. It's kind of like a dinosaur prehistoric type of thing. Even though it still helps a lot, you still need a really good run game. I mean, right now the Ravens and the Commanders have the top 2 run games in the NFL, and there's a reason that they're winning games the way that they are. But of course, it's a pass happy league. Everybody's talking about the quarterbacks, the long throws, the deep bombs, and things like that. But they're basically keeping the run game alive with their film breakdowns every week, and they seem to be talking about us every week on their Twitter account. And then they pointed out a specific play where Tyler Biadasz and Samuel Cosmi were blocking 30 yards down the field on a play. And so that's just, I'm telling you, everybody's buying in. Your receivers are blocking well on the outsides. That's why you're able to get some of these runs off. Like even last week, Noah Brown and Brian Robinson were the lead blockers for one of those Jaden Daniels' rushing touchdowns against the Cardinals. Like everybody, even the running backs are blocking for run plays. The wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs blocking on the outside. Your offensive linemen, the big guys, are 30 yards down the field blocking. I mean, everybody's buying in. And then also even the coaching staff is buying in, because Austin Eckler, after the Browns game in the locker room, he pointed out one thing that has definitely helped this entire team. He said that the entire team does more walkthroughs than any other team he's ever played with in his NFL career. He said and because of that, players aren't confused, and therefore they can play faster and be used in a variety of looks. So even though they may not be necessarily practicing hard every day and, practicing necessarily harder than anybody else, but they're at least practicing more, and they're at least doing walkthroughs. Even if we don't throw on the pads, we don't do full contact, we're at least doing a lot of walkthroughs, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And then leaving from the coaching, because that's definitely a Dan Quinn thing. That is a Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury led thing. So we got to give the coaching staff credit for buying in right there. Then you move from the players to the coaching staff to the front office. Then you have Adam Peters, who's just, I don't even know what to say. Grant Paulson on his show, Grant and Danny, passed along a story that is, they said this regime treats players in a very unique way, and it will make DC a destination for players again, because there was a story, and a lot of us are hypothesizing that maybe it was Austin Eckler, maybe it was Quan Martin, but either way, when a player got hurt in one of these most recent games, maybe it was the Cardinals, maybe it was against the Bengals, Adam Peters went out of his way to text that player's dad that the player is okay, giving them an instant update on what's going on with your player, just reassuring them he's good to go, don't worry about it, we're going to be precautionary with him, we're taking care of your child, even though it's a grown man, you know what I'm saying? And just that extra step from Adam Peters, that's why people love him. Remember, before we even hired him, he was voted from NFL agents the best GM candidate, just off of his relationship ability, how he just always, he's just such a great guy. People love him, people believe in him and things like that. That was before we even hired him, before we even had this 4-1 start, before we even got close to drafting Jaden Daniels and things like that. And it's just the little things like that that really matter in the long run. To go out of your player as not like a staff member, not even a medical staff member, not an executive. We have so many executives in the front office, anybody could have done it. The GM himself went out of his way to text a player's dad that everything was okay, don't worry, put your mind at ease and things like that. That extra step is just insane. And then also earlier today, Jaden Daniels had a press conference. He said that his father instilled in him to move forward every week, not dwell in the past. Daniel said he allows 24 hours to react to games and events, and then it's on to the next. I like that mentality. Now, let's get to these injury updates. First of all, back on Monday, October 7th, Dan Quinn said that they are hopeful with Noah Brown's availability for week 6. So that was already Monday. Then fast forward to today, Wednesday, October 9th, good news, wide receiver Noah Brown finally returned to practice. And it seems like the coaching staff is very optimistic about his possible return against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, shouts out to everybody that stepped up big time in his absence, but you still miss Noah Brown when he's not out there. Now, granted, Luke McCaffrey stepped up and Olamide Zaccheaus both stepped up in the blocking department to kind of make up for Noah Brown's absence. And that way, De'Ami Brown stepped up as a playmaker and a route runner in De'Ami Brown's absence. Everybody stepped up in different ways, but it's nice to have Noah Brown back that can do all of that at the same time, because you could argue, even as much as I love Terry McLaurin, when Jaden Daniels is doing scramble drill stuff, when it comes to just pure nuance, veteran nuance, finding a way to get open and being available for your quarterback and coming back to the ball to make the throw easier for them, you could argue that nobody on our roster is better than what Noah Brown is doing right now. And then he also has that Luke McCaffrey stepped up, because right now he's like top 10 in the NFL as far as getting open per route run, and Noah Brown is also known for getting open as well. So it's kind of like we use the system, we use the collaboration of multiple people to kind of make up for Noah Brown's absence, and it worked out very well against the Browns. But to have him back against the Ravens is going to be huge. So now when you look at Noah Brown on the injury report, he was limited today, which is expected. You know, it's Wednesday. We still have Thursday and Fridays practices. We still have like Saturday and Sunday updates. I'm just assuming that like if you miss a game the previous week, you're more than likely going to be limited to next week's first practice, especially. I'm assuming that by Thursday or Friday, it will say full and he will be good to go with as hopeful as Dan Quinn is. So I'm really excited about that. Now, looking at the rest of the injury report, we'll start with the worst news first and we'll move all the way down to the better news. Nick Allegretti out with an ankle injury from Wednesday's practice, but that's kind of been the case for the past couple of weeks, so I'm pretty sure he'll be good to go. He'll be a full participant at some point in practice this week. Then Zach Ertz out with rest every Wednesday, it seems like. Cleveland Farrell, I'm not exactly expecting him back, but it would be nice to have him back, but I don't expect it. Dante Fowler has an illness. I'm pretty sure that's something he'll recover from by the time we play the Ravens. He should be good to go. And then my boy Tyler Owens, man, sadly, still dealing with injuries right now. Can't wait to get him back as soon as possible. I hope he can play against the Ravens, because we're going to need to make as much of an impact in every facet of the game, including special teams, because this is going to be a dogfight on offense and defense. So we need to win that. We need to win the margins when it comes in any way possible, including special teams. And then Brian Robinson, of course, knee injury. I mean, he didn't play again after we came out of the halftime tunnel. So I'm not surprised that he didn't participate in Wednesday's practice. They're taking it easy. They're being precautionary with him. It's not like the injury got any worse, and he still gave us 2 touchdowns last week. So if he was able to give us 2 touchdowns last week and his injury is only getting better, I'm expecting him to be good to go for the Ravens. He may not ever be a full participant, but I'm expecting at least by Friday to see limited from Brian Robinson, and he should be able to play against the Ravens. Again, we already just talked about Noah Brown with the groin injury. Percy Butler has been limited in practice for the past couple of weeks. I think he should be good to go. Austin Eckler, I mean, at first it was like a concussion and an ear injury. Now suddenly it's a heel injury, but he was only limited, so I'm assuming he'll be good to go as well. And then Quan Martin, again, like I said earlier, like last week, it was a shoulder and concussion injury during the Cardinals game. And then, mind you, they said he was eligible to return if we needed him to. But at that point, we already sat Jaden Daniels and Nick Allegretti and some of the starters on both offense and defense. So there was no need to bring Quan Martin back. But I really want to emphasize the fact that if we needed him to, Quan Martin could have came back into that game against the Browns. So he's good to go. I'm expecting him to be a full participant at some point in this week. But again, suddenly it going from a shoulder and a concussion to a neck injury does concern me a little bit, just off of just neck injury by itself. We've already seen this with the J.D. McKissicks of the world. Like, neck injuries are definitely something you need to take seriously. But again, the fact that he was able to go back into that game, but we just chose not to put him back in because we're winning by so much, makes me very optimistic about his injury. And then Emmanuel Forbes, full participant, of course, even though he only played 4 snaps against the Browns. I'm not sure how many he'll play against the Ravens, even though he is fully healthy. And then you also have Jordan McGee and FL Bada, who were recently just opened their windows to be able to practice. They have now, probably about like 14 days left. They opened their 21-day window about a week ago. They probably have like 14 or less days now to be able to come off of IR. And the fact that they have been full participants all last week and they're already starting to be full participants this week, maybe we do get Jordan McGee and FL Bada back, and that's going to be huge, big time, because especially Jordan McGee, for him to help in coverage for our linebacker group to allow Frankie Louvo and Bobby Wagner to do what they do best, which is get after the quarterback and stop the run. And then FL Bada, with his elite athleticism, we could use a little bit of additional explosion from that edge rusher group from the defensive line to get after Lamar Jackson. We're going to need as much speed as we can get, and FL Bada has some speed, especially when you're talking about in terms of defensive linemen. So right now, our injury report is fairly positive overall. I would say overall, this is a good injury report. I'm very optimistic going into this Ravens game health-wise. I can't wait to see what Thursday and Friday holds. Of course, I will update y'all daily on what happens after Thursday's practice. What is everybody's status? And after Friday's practice, what is everybody's status? And then before the game happens, I will let you know who is out, who's questionable, who's good to go, all of that type of stuff on both ends. Speaking of both ends, the Ravens may not have as much happiness with their injury report as we do right now. They probably aren't as joyful as we are, because the Ravens didn't have 3 key starters on the field for Wednesday's practice, including cornerback Marlon Humphrey, left tackle Ronnie Stanley, and wide receiver Rashad Bateman. Neither of them were at practice today for the Ravens, and Humphreys was seen in a walking boot following Sunday's win in Cincinnati, and on Monday, head coach John Harbaugh said that he didn't think that there were any serious injuries in the game, so that must include Marlon Humphrey. But for him to be walking around in a boot and missing Wednesday's practice, even if he does play against us, I'm not expecting him to be on his A game. And then Harbaugh even said, quote, "These are physical, tough games, and you're on the turf and all that, and I just don't want to make any promises, but I think we're in good shape," unquote. We'll see. I will keep y'all updated on their end of the injury report as well as we go through these next couple of days of practices. And then also, there were no announced injuries to Rashad Bateman or Stanley, but Bateman was on the field for the Ravens' second to last offensive play of the game, not the 51-yard Derrick Henry running overtime. And Stanley also finished the game, but for some reason they weren't at practice today. And then even outside of their starters, they also didn't have defensive lineman Broderick Washington and linebacker Malik Harrison. So just to note that they have some injuries that they're dealing with right now, and there's like 3 significant ones, there's 2 less significant, but those guys still contribute. So we'll see. Right now the Ravens are a little banged up, and I'll definitely update y'all on their injury report tomorrow when I do Thursdays, and we'll see the Commanders side. Just like how we had that whole picture for the Commanders, we're also going to have the Ravens side as well, and I'll update y'all on that. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, the Commanders have also released defensive end Justin Hollins from the practice squad. Just to let you know, they may need to clear space for a quarterback. If they drop one, Sam Hartman, presumably, of the 4 now that they have on the 53-man roster, they may just get back to 3, and they had to make space on the practice squad for Sam Hartman to go from the active roster to the practice squad. We'll see where that goes, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all the content, man. I really appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tune in. I will be live streaming this upcoming Ravens game. I'm super excited to show y'all all of my new sounds and effects. I'll be doing play-by-play analysis and everything like that. And of course, let me know in the comment section. I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. I've just been super busy, but I'm gonna try my best. But let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video, the positive injury updates for the Commanders, the negative injury updates for the Ravens, all of that type of stuff, and how this entire team, from the players, coaches, and front office, are all buying in 100%, and why every little thing has mattered and led to the success that we're having right now, which is why buying in as a totality, if one person doesn't buy in, it can make the whole ship sink. The fact that everybody's buying in is big time. Let me know how you feel about all of that, and of course, do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. I appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later with another video. I'm out.